Today we're with Kevin Jackson, one of the co-founders of AI Forge, an AI startup incubator, and with a storied background across fields. Kevin, I want to hear first, what's the most exciting part of AI Forge for you today? Not last month, not last year. What is it right now?
Well, the thing is, we've just finished cohort 5, so Investor Week, where we put them in front of 400 investors. We put the cohort in front of 300 or 400 investors. Has just finished, and we're preparing now for cohort 6. And the most exciting part of AI Forge for me is meeting the new founders when they all get together on Welcome Day. And they talk about them and we talk about us, and it's that enthusiasm and energy of those founders in the room sustains me over the following 12 weeks, which can be pretty brutal.
Yeah. What's particularly brutal about the 12-week program?
I think, well, there's a number of things. That's a really sort of multifaceted question. We push our founders. As I've said before, in many places, we treat them like elite athletes. You can't be an elite business person if you're not turning up to work every day and doing the thing that you should be most focused on. And during the 12-week program, we push them hard in the way that a personal trainer pushes you hard in the gym, or a track coach pushes you hard on the track, or a soccer coach, football coach, whatever. So we push them hard, and that can cause issues. And I think being a founder is sort of confronting, because it's your business, it's your drive, your ambition, your energy that's going to make this thing successful. And I think if you're feeling it's not going to be successful, there's only one person to blame, really. And that's the person looking back at you in the mirror. And that can be very ego sapping, if that's even a good portmanteau word.
Yeah. So in a way, you really hold the mirror back up to them, and they see the stark reality.
Yeah, because we're an incubator, so we're pre-seed. So we get them ready for their pre-seed investment. But so the 12 weeks before that, we're creating with them a company, and we take them from soup to nuts in that 12 weeks, from the initial creation of the company, even the company formation and the bank accounts and the investor deck and the financial model and the everything. We help build their pitch deck. We rehearse them to death through, we get them to stand up and present all the way through the 12 weeks, so that when we get to week 12 and they're in front of those 300 or 400 investors, they're confident in their own ability, and they portray that confidence to the people in the room. It's a long, as my partner Craig says, it's a hideous world of pain, and it is.
Yeah. What do you see as the differences? Not everyone makes it through. Not everyone gets to investment.
Yeah.
And even those who get there, some get there stronger, some get there in much better shape than others. What are some of the differences 5 cohorts in now that you see from the folks that make it and really come out ready to make the most of the next phase? And
yeah, I think there's two parts to that answer. One, I used to say we're better at choosing good founders, and I don't think that's true. What we're better at is choosing the founders who work for us in the program. Because there's millions of good founders out there. We're not, we're certainly not saying there's not good founders out there, but with our program being as energetic and as intense as it is, the 12 weeks is full on, 70 masterclasses, boot camp sessions, events. We do 40 events a year. We're better at choosing the founders that are going to fit the model that we've created. And I think that's with any team, that's what it's about, isn't it? You find the players that fit the team you're running, no matter what team you're part of. So I
Yeah.
think we're better at doing that. But also we're better at making sure that the founders understand that almost the most important thing for them is to be resilient.
Mm.
It's called different things in different industries, but bounce back ability, resilience, never give up, never say die. Those are the people that are successful ultimately.
Yeah.
Because even if you're trying to convince people along the way that you're the person to run this business and you're the person, especially for investors, to make money for them. So they've got to trust you. They've got to believe you're going to die on the hill rather than lose the money. I mean, most investors understand that it's a gamble. At this stage of pre-seed, it's a gamble. But they're almost not worried about, okay, we know it's not going to, it might not be 10x or 100x or 2x, but what we don't want you to do is lose the principle. So, we've got to have resilient founders who are going to make sure that, they keep the business going, that they do everything in their power. That takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of commitment. It's damaging it can be damaging for your home life. So for us, it's about resilience, resilience, resilience.
Yeah. And I'm curious, you said you've gotten better at identifying the founders that work in the program for the program. So what are the factors that you look for as proxies for resilience? And then as a follow-up to that, if you do, how do you cultivate that even more?
Yeah, well, we talk about it a lot. It's in almost every session we run. But we start with the about 500 applications for every cohort. Each cohort is 12. Its program is 12 weeks long. We start with about 400, 500 applications, and our own AI, Annalise, solves for team experience, idea, market, and out of that 500, we actually interview 70. And that 70 starts the pre-program. So we're a 12-week program with 3 weeks in pre-program. And we set them lots and lots and lots of tasks in that pre-program. So we're looking for that resilience. We're looking for, the homework needs to be delivered at 9 o'clock the next morning, and you need to be there, ready, alert, uncomplaining, coachable. Uh, and, during the 3 week program, when we put them into a big judging panel called the Furnace, where we've got the great and the good from almost everywhere in terms of AI, whether it's Google, AWS, or PwC. There's a whole host of judges. 40 go in front of the Furnace, but only 20 survive and go into the following 9 weeks. So we're constantly reassessing, judging, based on what we're telling them through the first 3 weeks of the program to get them into the actual live program.
Wow. So you've got a 4% acceptance rate.
Yeah, I mean it's why we're so successful. It's about making sure that we get the right people to the end of the program where we can put them in front of the investors, and all of that stuff we do in the pre-program, all of the stuff we do in the actual program, make sure that we've got the right people in the cohort.
Yeah. You mentioned Annalise, your AI. What's Annalise modeled on?
Oh, that's not a question for me. That is a question for our CTO. But we built it ourselves. It's in it. She's housed in a thing called Forge Finder, which is the back end of our website, where we put all the work that the cohort do. It's judged, it's graded, and they get their results. And then we put all the investors in there. We've got up to 500 mentors in there that they can mix and match with. There's the judges in there, and and the investors can have a look at the progress through the program. They can see the marks.
Yeah. And you mentioned success a moment ago. What does success look like for, what are your real hopes for these 20 um, entities, groups who go through the program? What's success look like?
Yeah, well, that changes depending on on what day you're asking me. I think the thing is what we're trying to do, what we're really trying to do at the heart of what we're trying to do is build sustainable businesses. Of course, everyone talks about unicorns and Series A, B, C, blah, blah. But the 24 people or 25 people that get to the end of the program, we really want them to survive as businesses. As whatever it is now, 85% of businesses that go through an incubator, any incubator, survive more than 1 year, which is a lot better than the average. So what we're looking to do is build sustainable businesses, and for the founder, for their family, for their community. That's the most important thing for us. And of course, out of there is going to pop a few successes, but that's really at the heart of what we're trying to do: build sustainable businesses that can sustain.
Um, when did AI Forge start?
2023. We're 2 years and 2 months old,
Got it. Now I'm
which is
curious.
remarkable.
Does it feel like longer?
Yeah, it does actually. I think the thing is, we get refreshed every whatever it is. Every cohort is a new bunch of founders with the new enthusiasm and new ideas and new businesses to confront. And then they start the program and they go through the stress test where we examine every single minute detail. Craig Massey, our CEO, and my co-founder, we examine the business in minute detail to make sure it is what we think it is and make sure it can be what we think it can be.
Yeah.
But that sort of energy that comes into the building every cohort is remarkable.
And I'm curious, with such an emphasis on resilience
Hmm.
and so much focus on helping them get better, I imagine you've been applying that to yourselves, cohort after cohort as well.
You'd like to think so.
I would. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm curious to hear both sides of that, though. What not only what you've improved, but also what are the behind the scenes conversations like as a team for confronting yourselves, for looking yourselves in the mirror. And I'll ask you a follow up after that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two things. We've been through a lot of people in 2 years. And one of the things we believe in is to try. Not everyone fits our model. In terms of our employees, our partners. So we're very quick to judge in terms of whether that person's going to fit in or not. We're very supportive. We're a very close team. As I said, we're intense with the cohort, but we're also very intense with us. So at the end of every cohort, so the cohort did their investor presentations on Tuesday and Wednesday. On Thursday, the whole team came to the office and we had a review of where we were. What did we learn? What is good? What was bad? What can we change? How can we improve? We did that with the team, and we do that after every cohort. So this is the 5th time we've had that meeting, and then we all go out and tell each other how wonderful we are. We go out and have dinner and a few drinks, and tell each other we love each other. And we do that quite a lot. We're quite a social group, and we're very, very close. And I think what we, because the pressure is intense. The pressure is intense in terms of what we're asking our own people to do, as well as what we're asking the cohort to do. So, we try and provide a supportive environment. It doesn't always work the way we think it's going to work, but we're very quick to praise, and we're very quick to try and make sure that everyone has a sort of career path. Obviously, everyone can't stay where they are forever, even when they're doing a great job. So we try and map out some sort of career path so people can move through the business. And in terms of us, I don't know. I guess now we're, the people that are here are very friendly. The people that we've got, the team that we've got here for AI Forge, they're very skilled. They deliver a huge amount for the cohort, and we're all very, very close.
What are some challenges that you've navigated to get there, to get to the as you've gone through
Well,
those?
someone once said, I think it was Sam Altman said, you can't imagine the waves of problems that are going to be hitting you as a startup. And we're 2 years old, and we've been in those problems. We've run out of cash. We've cashed in whatever you say. Are you in the States, Jack?
I'm in Portugal now. I used to
Oh,
be
in
in.
Portugal, yeah. We've cashed, we've borrowed against properties. We've, sold stuff. We've convinced friends and family and investors to put money in. We had an amount of money to start with, and then we had some guaranteed cash from a family office that then all had a big fight and all fell apart. So that guaranteed cash sort of fell away very quickly, and we've been making do and mending as we've been going along. But we've got to cohort 5. We've got a fundraising event tomorrow, which is Tuesday. We've got a raise at the moment for another £2 million, which I'm 100% convinced will be successful. Because the thing is, as you've identified, Jack, when you start a cohort, it's almost 4 years before they do anything. Maybe 5, maybe 6. So what we've got, when we've talked to investors, of course, they want to see results, and that doesn't really happen that quickly. So now we've got an amazing batch of results. We've got the cohorts funded, and the cohorts are all growing, and the cohorts are all, the previous cohorts have all got traction. We've got great results from cohort 4, and I expect great results from cohort 5. So we've now got a great story to tell, and of course, we're into our 3rd year. So if we're looking for payback or payout in years 4, 5, and 6, we're not that far away anymore. So the thing that we said is going to happen is actually happening.
Yeah, which I imagine is quite gratifying to start.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's all of those things that everyone tells startups. You just got to hang on for dear life. You've got to make sure you survive. You've got to do whatever you can to get to the next thing, whatever that thing is.
Yeah,
We're no different to any other startup, and we've been through all of those problems.
yeah,
And all that we can see now, because as we've improved the program, we've improved our deal flow to get founders in, we've improved our investor relations to get investors in to invest in the cohort. As we've gone through the last 2 years, all of those processes have been improved. We've grown massively as a business and as individuals. And now all I can see is calmer waters ahead, where I can come and have a beer in Portugal instead of not having any holiday at all for the last 2 years and whatever.
it even have some port.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Amazing, amazing. And I'm curious. Maybe we'll come back to AI Forge in a few minutes. I'm curious. How did you find yourself here? Just tell us. Um, you, yeah.
Well,
Give us the Kevin Jackson journey.
yeah. Well,
The great
yeah. Okay.
AI startup.
It's. I don't know. I kept going through the right door. I'm not sure there was an actual plan. There's 3 doors, and you go through one. Oh yeah, this is great. I love it here. I was in marketing with a marketing agency, which is now, what are they called now? Called brand activation. Used to be called sales promotion. Then brand activation called KLP. Kings and Lloyd Peterson. Had an amazing time there. Worked on some amazing brands. Launched Budweiser in the UK, Foster's in the UK. Worked on the Diners Club account. And then I was recruited into a division of Saatchi and Saatchi. Had another, 5, 6 years at that, working on amazing brands, and then went to Grey Global, and had an amazing role working on what were then called, I don't know if they're still called that, the super global accounts, BAT, GSK, 3M, and Mars. And I had a sort of global role because, as President Kennedy once said about war, he said that somewhere there's always someone who doesn't get the message. So there's always someone in a network of whatever it is now, 66 offices around the world, who doesn't understand what the center creative in London or New York is actually meaning. So I had a job which was also building the network, building the capability network, opening offices around the world, but also making sure that the super global accounts were looked after and everyone understood what was going on. And then was headhunted into Jack Morton, which is the biggest, one of the most creative event agencies in the world, opening ceremony of the Olympics in Athens and Beijing, and Commonwealth Games in Melbourne and Manchester, huge events for people like Ericsson, and then headhunted into George P. Johnson, which is an even bigger event agency with IBM and Cisco and Salesforce. It was an incredible run. And then I thought, I think we just landed the Statoil account, which is the oil company of Norway, which is now called Equinor. And I'd sort of done 90% of that work on my own. I mean, obviously, it's a team around, but found it, developed it, got it to a place where we could win it. And then I thought, if I'm as clever as I think I am, I should be doing this for myself. Then I realized I wasn't as clever as I thought I was. And really needed a whole team behind me, and started an event company which created 3 amazing events in the Muslim community, and then bumped into Craig Massey.
Let me pause that. Before you come back to bumping into Craig, there are 2 things there. How did you realize, what was it? Oh, actually, I need a team. And then how did you get to these events in the Muslim community?
Well, no, that was it. So I don't believe anything about astrology. I'm sorry for all you people who believe in astrology, but what I do believe is the traits of those star signs. And I know, there's 12, but there should be 30. I know all that. But I'm a Libran, and Libra is all about balance. And what the thing is about Librans is they're really great in partnerships. So where I've been really successful since I left George P. Johnson is working in partnership. So I found a partner in Waleed Jahangir, who's Pakistani Muslim, British Muslim, and he kept coming to me. We kept meeting at events. He said, we should be doing this, and I was looking for something to do, and thought this, went to a Muslim event and thought, I can really add some value here. I can, instead of being in a school or a community centre, I can put it into Olympia or Tobacco Dock or big, where are we now? Excel or where was the last one we just did? We just did one. Oh, Westfield in Shepherd's Bush or Stratford. So we created 3 events: the lifestyle show, the food festival, and the Eid festival, which now has 500,000 visitors a year at it. 10 years later, but it's the partnership with Waleed, and it's the partnership with Craig, and it's that really helps me do the thing I need to do.
So you bump into Craig?
Yeah, who was creating a thing called Block Dojo, which was a blockchain incubator. Joined that, and then saw AI coming over the hill, 3 years ago, and switched into that. Blockchain was full of conversations with, you're not crypto, we are crypto, we're not crypto, we are crypto. It's just a constant loop of people not understanding what blockchain is.
Yeah. And how, with so much background in events and in marketing, Kevin, I think marketing is certainly in my experience, it was a field, a domain, a skill set that I completely, whose importance I completely underestimated.
Mm.
And now, especially as easy as it is to, not to create a company necessarily, but to create an AI product, it's apparent to me that effective marketing is maybe the key to
Yeah.
what will distinguish effective products from that gain traction from those that don't. How do you leverage those decades of experience for the startups going through and coming out of the incubator?
Yeah, but I think, I've worked whatever it is, the 25 years I've worked on every brand. I've got an A to Z or an A to Z of brands from Adidas to Zumba, and I have a brand, every brand name in between. And Cisco, Samsung. I've worked on Huawei. I launched Huawei in the UK. I've done some amazing things. But the thing is, at the heart of all that is a startup. Every brand you launch, every product you launch, you do the same thing that we do in the startup world. It's go-to-market strategy, it's product market fit, it's traction, it's all of those things that we talk about on a daily basis in startup land. I've been doing for 20 years in advertising and marketing and events, because that's how we launch programs. It's how we launch products. It's how we launch businesses from an advertising perspective. Advertising and marketing has always done that. And then really all we're doing is welding that to the businesses I've run and launched, and all of a sudden you've got someone who knows about startups, and that's what it is for me.
And how receptive are okay, so what I'm hearing is, like, in a way, you've trained dozens and dozens of times on what it is to take a startup from zero to something, and you've
Somewhere, yeah.
flourishing success. How receptive are the startups that you're working with um, to the strategic advice that you're giving them?
Very, very. I think, well, one of the asks in our joining booklet is coachable. You need to be teachable, coachable. And I think, to be very transparent, they are, because every startup founder is looking for answers. They don't actually know any of the answers yet. They've got an idea of what they're trying to do, and they certainly know the thing they're trying to build, the product at the heart of it. But all the rest is blurry, and they're just looking for more and more and more information. And a lot of what we do, especially when the mentors get involved, is to try and bring that into a sharper focus, so they understand what they're looking for in partnerships and investors, understanding what it means to have product market fit, what it is a go to market, all of those things we color in the background for them, so that they understand in real detail what they're trying to do. And of course, as I said, they burn to be successful. So it's not as if we're pushing on a closed door. They want the information. They're dragging it out of us. So
Yeah,
that's why AF Forge is so great, because we're whatever we are now, 12 full-time people, and hundreds of mentors and advisors and investors who can really help get the founders to where they want to get to.
it's so sad. I feel that with my clients as well. If, they're rapidly growing startups, and it's like there's no convincing them that mostly that they need to grow. There's a how fast can I get there?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, there's the how fast can I get there? Can I get there tomorrow? So that's a conversation. And can I be a unicorn by the end of next year? That's always a conversation. But within those parameters, they're ready to
Yeah,
hear lots and lots and lots of advice.
yeah. I guess that's part of the growth too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Calibrating. You mentioned the mentors. What does the support from the mentors look like? Including what's the support from them or from AI Forge post incubator?
Yeah. So, I mean, we run an alumni program and meet up every month. So once the founders have been through the program, then they can join the alumni, and we meet up every month. And there's a sort of theme to the meeting. And depending on where they are, we can help them with different things. So that's certainly good, because after 12 weeks of intensive, to just go next Monday and be looking at your kitchen wall again is probably a bit daunting, and there's a bit of separation anxiety that goes on with that. And I think with the mentors, what we say is, so we have hundreds of mentors, all of different stripes. Some are finance, some are tech, some are business, some marketing, and you as the founder can choose 3 of those mentors, and we mark the mentors as well. And we say to the mentors, look, during the life of the program, that 12-week thing, or actually the 6 weeks that the mentors get involved in, you have to do, I can't remember this, an hour or half an hour a week, and you have to do that free. Once they graduate the program, then it's up to you to make a relationship with the individual founder, whatever that is. So if the founder's enjoying the relationship and thinks you're adding value to the business, then there's a consultant, advisor, non-exec director, whatever the relationship is. It's up to the mentor and the founder to create that relationship. But while they're in the program, it's free. And that's one of the things about our program. We've got 70 odd things that the founders mark us on. So after every session, we ask for marks, we ask for feedback, we push them and push them and push them and push them, because we use that feedback for our end of cohort review. But we need to know where we are. We obviously Craig remembers numbers amazingly, but anyone who scores an 8 below, below 8 is bad. We're 8s and above, and if you're not scoring in your 9s, then we have a chat with you. But we're very high marking, and the founders are they're very honest about their feedback. We're honest with them, and they're brutally honest with us. So that's how it should be, and how we want it to be. But it's a sort of healthy relationship. There's respect on both sides, and I think in the end, we do an amazing job for founders.
Love it. Final question for you. What do you think is the most important area for early stage founders that is the least talked about? We've talked about
I can tell you what it's.
Yeah, all right, let's hear it.
I can tell you what it's not.
Let's hear that too.
It's not the product.
All right, go on. I mean, it makes sense to me. Why is it not the product, and what is it actually?
Well, because the only person that cares about the product is the founder, usually. The investor looks at the product as a means to an end, a means to get money. So the actual product and the product detail, which everyone wants to talk about all the time, it's not, we've got the fastest thing or we've got the best thing. Okay, what does it mean in terms of benefit? AI allows you to do this, but what is it in terms of, what it helps you to do with customers, what it helps you to do with sales, what it helps you to do with your own people? It's the actual benefit. It's not the product feature. No one cares. And when we're doing the financial the pitching at the end of the cohort, we squash don't just cut just squash the product a bit smaller. There's too many slides on products. I think the thing is for me, I think it's different for everyone, because everyone in this business has an opinion, and we've all got a different opinion, and that's the benefit to the founders. What I say to the founders is, look, you're going to hear lots of things. It's your business. You have to choose the things you listen to, and that's going to be the same in here and out there. Lots of people are going to have lots of opinions about how good or bad you are, or how good or bad your product is, or how good or bad your sales outreach is. But it's for you to decide what's good and bad, and it's for you to take all those opinions and internalize them and come up with your own thought. But what I say in my little piece is we have a thing called founder story. And usually it's, the thing you ask me, where have I been and what have I done? And I say to our founders, look, it's not really about where have you been and what have you done, because as interesting as that is to most people, everyone's got an interesting bit of a story to tell. I don't really care about that, because we're not talking about that. We're talking about in relation to the business. And the business is going to be very hard. And running a small business and growing a business is very challenging. So my founder story is, what is it in your past? What is it in your education? What is it in your experience? What is it that's allowed you to look at a thing that everyone else is looking at and to see something different and to come up with a different idea? What is that story? And if you can tell that story effectively, you'll build a great business.
What is it in your past that's allowed you to look at the same thing that everybody else is looking at and see something different?
Because it's that energy that's going to carry you forward. Because everyone talks about mission, vision, and values, but that's the mission. My mission is to bring that thing I've seen to life in a way that no one else has, and to convince all the people who say it's not going to work that it is going to work because I invented it, I created it, and I know how to do it. That gives you energy, that gives you drive, that gives you momentum, that allows you to jump the hurdles and scale the walls and leap a tall building in a single bound. That's the thing that's going to drive you on.
Amen.
Here endeth the first lesson.
Thank you, Kevin Jackson.
Thank you, Jack Cohen.